Top of the morning to you. Hey, I'm Michaels. The grandkids call me Roo. Thanks for being on Roodoodles Live 8:57. Squeaking it out there. I started that piece about 2 minutes early, and then, I get close to 8:57. People ask me all the time, why 8:57? It's real clear. It's just 3 minutes before 9. It makes me think I think like an artist, just wired a little differently. Just twisted those wires together a little differently. That's how you have to look at life, through different lenses. That's all these glasses I wear. I got them all over the place. I can see it pretty well, actually. So now I have on 3 pair. These are cool here, too. Must have found these somewhere. Ray-Bans, no less. Anyway, they're not a sponsor yet, but they don't need to be. In here in the studio this morning. Glad to have you. I'm here at my pub, Twisted Barley Leg Pub desk. This thing's older than our country. And I have a piece of paper down here on the desk just to keep the illustrious potentate watercolor paint off of it. There it is right there. It washes out pretty well, except for in my white shirts. Doesn't wash too well in those. But glad to have you on the show this morning. I got a cup of tea. Oh, a little black tea in the morning. You know, while I was gone, I drink coffee quite a bit. Had to have it on the television show. And that wasn't on the show. I don't want to make it sound like I was on the show. They're shooting the shows. There are 8 shows that are, my son is right in the middle of that, shooting the next few weeks. I go in and do pre-build stuff. I just get little widgets and crazy things built beforehand that get taken back apart sometimes and put back together by the talent and used in the show. It's kind of fun. I get to be the person who thinks like an artist. 8:57, 20 minutes every day. Add it up. 857, 20 minutes every day will change how you do art. And some of you have put in more time in that. Some of you just get pulled down the vortex. You get in there and you get a little piece of paper and you start piddling and noodling and doodling and fiddling around. And before you know it, time has just passed by and you're going like, what a day this was. My mind is refreshed. I've got white space. I'm thinking clearly. That's thinking like an artist. Glad to have you on the show. Got a handful of Yasutoma. Phew, that's noisy. That's a real piece of bamboo right there. Yasutoma brushes. Let me just go to a desk shot here so you can see. Here's picture. There's my Yasutoma brushes. I've already laid a few out there. I keep them in this little bamboo thing here. Yes, there's probably a few more in there than I need, but isn't that what we all do, for heaven's sakes? Okay. There's 3 American Journey brushes in there. There's one I'm going to have to retire soon. There's a little tool in here that I got from Cheap Joe's one day. I was up in the store. It's called a Disconfibulator. I don't know what this thing's called, really. It's just for splitting paper. You can use a pocket knife. You can use a credit card. You can use try not to use the same knife you just spread the mayonnaise with on your tomato mayonnaise sandwich. That just... there's something about sending artwork out that has mayo on it that just doesn't work well. It's this little plastic, almost looks like a paper folder, slides in. But there's a lot of great brushes in here. There's also, this works great too, a palette knife for when you're splitting paper. Let's see if I've got something here. There's a little dragonfly that I was painting on. Just to slide in here like this and go zip, and then across the bottom like this. Zip, and then it's free. Fly away. So that's a little 6x6 piece of fluid paper there. And I like fluid. I like fluid 100 better, but this is good paper. It really is just a good solid paper. It sometimes is a little looser and it lets the water spray out just a little more. I've got several things in here. I've got this little thing that I made. Some of you have seen this before. You can actually buy a little screen like this. This is just a little piece of Teflon screen that I hot glued into a little bent piece of wire. Look at that. It looks like a tiny flash water. If you haven't seen me use this, here, let me lay it out here and I'll remember to use it here in just a little bit. But, and this, I have to brag on this, right? Still have it. Look at that. That's my first glass I ever blew in the furnace. That was over a year ago up in Greenbrier. And we went up there and I had about 3 or 4 hours in a glass shop. And some of you saw that broadcast that I did. Max was such a nice young man, just brilliant artist. And he said, I guess you want to make a paperweight. And we both went, no, we don't. Yes, you want to make a little pumpkin man? No, we don't. Oh, you want to make a little spoon rest? No, we don't. She wants to make a bowl, and I want to make a glass. We think like artists. He goes, yes, come on into the class. And so, because people come in and they're afraid of the heat, they're afraid of the fire, they're afraid, but I've been blacksmithing for several years. This was completely different, but I knew what it was like to be around the forge. And so I picked the colors and then blew this little glass. And I love to keep my brushes in that. All right, so that's the desk here this morning as it gets started. Let me say hello to some of you, and let's get off on some things. I made a note here in my little More Weird and Wonderful Words book this morning, and I'm gonna get rid of this dust cover. It's just bothering me. It just kind of gets everywhere. So, Aaron, thank you for not answering my email, Aaron McKean. But I'm tossing that over there. I like it in the hardback form here. I put a note in my book yesterday. I just dropped it in here. In fact, there's a good word right up here I want to show you. It said questions, and it said green and gold. Green gold. I was going to show somebody the green gold paint, and son of a gun, I must have gotten into a story and forgot it. That's hard to believe for you, I know. But I did. So let me say, top of the morning, Patricia Deaton. Thanks for being on the show. Deborah Selbarton. Excuse me for having a cough, but it's nothing I could do about it. Just sinuses. It stormed last night. The weather was humid, and then it dropped, and then it changed, and then I went out to get us a little Chinese food, and every 4.5 seconds, lightning was flashing. I'm thinking, I could have picked a better time. Chris Whitaker, thanks for being on the show. Kelly Berger, yes, always good morning to you. Karen Bender, Renee Keys, thank you for being on the show. John Robert Small, good morning. Canvas Crusaders, he says. Patricia Brooks, Rue World folks. Pat Brooks, thank you for being on the show. And Noodle Doodle Fiddle Piddle is out and about. You can pick up your copy at Amazon.com. And people who are worried, I've had lots of emails the last few days that said, I haven't received my book, and I ordered it early, and oh no. Don't oh no yet. The post office rides a slow pony. I was doing some tracking yesterday, and I saw one still out there still floating around. I got an email last night late that said, I hope you haven't spent a lot of time tracking this. It showed up today. They're out there, okay? Do make sure if I'm mailing something to you or anybody's mailing something to you, except for the IRS, make sure you have your address verified. Some of those says address not verified, still will ship within time allotted, but sometimes it hunts for you out there. So if you're filling out things to get stuff mailed to you, I saw that about 10 times, 8 to be exact. Don't want to exaggerate. 10, 8. Okay, Diane Soha. Well, thanks for being on the show from Crescent Beach, Florida. Phil Wilbarger from Steamy, Northwest Ohio. Man, it can get steamy. It can get steamy in the lower part of Ohio, too. I was out near Hocking Hills one time, and the humidity, might as well just took a chainsaw and cut a gate in it and then walk through. Denise Albright, thanks for being on the show. Donna Bullman, Michael Ashburn, he says hello from Kilimanjaro. Hey, Ash really has been in fact, here, I'll use that tool right here. Ash really has been, look at this. I'm opening a brand new pack of Kilimanjaro paper. Woo-hoo-hoo. Don't you love that sound? Listen to this. Cellophane wrapping off of a new paint book from Cheap Joe's. Listen to this. Oh my gosh, that just drives you crazy. That's like the person behind me. It was about a year ago that I went to the theater when I felt like it was safe to go, and now it's not again, I guess. And the person behind me apparently only came to the theater to eat snack food. And I'm thinking, really? And they're going, their hands down in the bag, and I'm going like, wow, I paid $12 plus for this ticket to watch someone or listen to someone stick their hand in a bag. Be sensitive, people. Okay, I'm not going to get on my horse. Ashburn, my friend Michael Ashburn, who is pretty funny. Ash started this trip at 141. That's 1 pound heavier than Kilimanjaro paper. It's 140-pound paper. Doesn't mean it weighs 140 pounds, but Ash at 141 started his hike up Kilimanjaro. I saw some of the photos there with the young light. Fantastic journey. I'll call you this week and we'll talk more. I've been out of town. He's been out of town, so our phones haven't been connecting. But I'll be in touch with you soon, buddy. Glad you're back safely. All right. Looks like I just got a news thing from Apple, and I really don't care right now. Thank you. All right. Deborah Tauber, thanks for being home of the Biloxi Shuckers baseball team. Shucked off another loss and won one, it sounds. Coach See You Grimace. That should be his name, right? Coach See You Grimace. It's an old Young Life joke. Lee Schwinn, thanks for being on the show. Glenda Small, I got a cuppa here. Linda Schleitling, thank you for being on the show. Tamerly Marie. Jean Anthalzer, your hand's going to keep getting better. Jimma Jensen, Deborah Spangler. Donna Buckley, good morning. It's Donna who says Payne's Gray. Yes, Donna, I got you. TikTok Jones is on the show this morning. I love it. I love it. Did I say June Jones? Lori Stanley, Handelmeyer Henderson is on the show. Thank you for being here. Patricia Evans, yes. And I saw your note that said the little dragonflies flew in. Good for them, man. I'm so glad they made it. Janice Scott, thanks for being here. Margie Quayle, Trish Brown, Lana Couch, Melanie Wilkes, Terry Tardy. I'm getting 2 hours of Roodoodles today. I was walking on the beach yesterday, so I watched yesterday's show earlier today. What do you mean you're walking? Oh, I see. Fantastic. Well, thank you, Terry Tardy. Walking on the beach that's a great place. I should have probably painted a shell, but I'm working on it. Got to get out my journals and get practiced up because I'm going to be walking on in some harbors come September, going up to Maine to paint. Pat Thompson, thank you for being on the show. Pat Brooks again. Bert Crone, thank you. It's Greenville time for you, buddy. Karen Pulver, thank you. All right, let me get started here this morning, and I might as well paint something. Linda Linhart, thank you for being on the show. Andy, it's Faglioli. I'll always mispronounce your name. I got an interesting letter yesterday from Lindsay about a book, and so I've sent a note back and forth. Some ways I can help, some ways I can't. So I responded back. We'll see if we hear from something and maybe help there. Teresa Emmerich, thank you for being on the show. Catherine Stanzel, Marion Joe Ratka. It's Marie. Tizzy Chambers, I thought you were in Bluegrass this week. I was in Bluegrass last week, Tizzy, and I was on a tear. I was actually down in over off Troy Circle at River Media Television Studios. You know, Knoxville, Tennessee has a crazy amount of studios. You know, they used to have Scripps Network there, and they had who did all the DIY HGTV stuff, and now that's all Discovery. They do a lot of these cooking shows from there. So it was fun. I was there just on a whirlwind. I did 5 or 6 12-hour days in the studio building, just building crazy things. I can't tell you about them now. I did watch another episode last night of Super Dad. It's on Discovery Plus. Taylor is a good young talent. He's creative. He's got heart. I love what the show does for families. And so it's fun to create. I see some things behind the scenes that a button's here or there or something's twisted that it was always fun to be a part of and build. It's fun to see that happen. All right, so give it a view if you want to. Here we go. I'm going to get going here. Ricky Govars, thank you for being on the show. Miss Carla, Patricia Hazel, Kyle Dixon, great job. Kyle's got a sense of humor that is just a mile and a half long. Bob, morning from the catapulting cornfields of Iowa. Yeah, man, I was catapulting things last week. I actually had to build a catapult, a small one. You know, it's been a long time since I've stormed a real castle. Carol Marsley, good morning to you. Thanks for being on the show. Molly Artman, hot morning from Louisville, Kentucky. Boy, that's horse country, beautiful country there. All right, here we go. All right. Hey, here's what I'm going to do. I am going to answer some questions today. So if you got a question, just put a big old G right after your name. Is it a G? No, it's Q, isn't it? I'm just kidding. I just knocked over my thermos, and I hope it wasn't leaking. All right, so let's get started here. Let's paint something. But I'm going to answer several questions today. I thought, you know what? These people always have questions, and I might be answering the wrong thing. So I'm going to give you 5 or 6 questions to just ask. It could be anything in the whole wide cotton-picking, chicken-plucking world. It's chicken cooking, egg laying, feather plucking, incubating, capitalizing, finger licking song. It's all about a bunch of questions. I don't want to stream you along. I know I've got answers. So if you're a treat for an O, it's Smoky Mountain Institute of Barbecues Big Time Chicken Show. I got the Kilimanjaro paper here. I got a book I'm going to paint. If you got a question, send me one, and I'll pop down there. Hey, Catherine, thanks for jumping in from Alberta. Yeah, they let me cross the border way back when. I got me some Macintosh taffy, and then I sneaked across the border. The word is Mulciberian. 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 All right. Mulciberian. Mulciberian. Here's what it means. It means resembling. Oh, I love it already. An adjective meaning resembling Vulcan. Oh my gosh, I love that. I'm going to write Vulcan right here. Vulcan. I was not a what was it? Star Trekkie. I was not a Trekkie guy, so I knew there was a Vulcan was used in there. But I knew Vulcan because of my work in blacksmithing. I didn't know him personally, but I understand he was one of the gods of thunder and fire and forge. If you live near Alabama, if you live near Birmingham, there's a statue that for years laid down along the railroad tracks. And then they reconstructed it. It's a blacksmith who he's holding his hammer. That's the thunder. He's holding his hammer up over the anvil, and he has on his blacksmith apron, but he doesn't have on anything in the backside. So this big bronze, I mean, he's 40 feet tall. Vulcan is in this statue in Birmingham, and it's real. And I saw it many, many, many years ago. I was doing a concert down in Mountain Brook or Homewood, one of those towns. And there was this big statue laying down there, and I'm going like, what's that? My friend says, that's Vulcan. I'm going like, why is he laying down? He's a blacksmith. Blacksmiths don't sleep. They need to be alive and well at the forge. And he said, well, they're going to build a park for him, and they're going to put him up and stand him up. And so, but the point is now there's a big contention. Used to be, this was years ago, a real contention between, I think it's Mountain Brook and Homewood in Birmingham, because when they put Vulcan in his place in the park, and they stood him up, they turned him a little bit so that his back bare side is facing one of the communities that didn't care for it much. He said, you got the guy that's coming down on the anvil, like, we got the guy whose bottom is facing us. So who decided this? That's a political argument that I don't want to get into. But it's a funny story. Look it up. I promise you, I'm not making this. How can you make up something like that? So here's what I think. Vulcan should be right here. Look at this right here. I'm going to draw an anvil here like this. There's an anvil right there. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a Vulcan over here. Maybe a big old Roo who's had his tail feathers all burned out here. And his big old leg is out here like this. And then this foot here is holding what I would call a cross-peen hammer. And a cross-peen hammer is a hammer that, it's cross. I got a box outside in my shop that I got to clean out. I've made my wife a promise by August 25th that I would have the shop cleaned out completely and reorganized so I could find a few things here and there. All right, you can't see that too much, but that's how I paint So Mulsiberian, it's Mulsiberian. Mulsiberian is an adjective meaning resembling Vulcan. Is that cool or what? I love it. I think that's pretty cool. Let me go in here and get some red. And let me just do a little bit. I'm painting right in this book. It's hard to paint in pages of book unless you're Michelle, who's been painting on receipts lately. You got to learn to control the water, okay? And what I mean by that is, you know when you're putting too much on your brush and when you're not. And if you learn to handle the water of watercolor, you're going to be a better artist all the way around. So sometimes I want you to paint on great, beautiful paper, the best you can afford. Sometimes I want you just to paint on inexpensive, cheap paper, just for the practice, so you can touch your brush and watch what the water does and watch how it buckles it and watch how the colors run. That's all the play that you need to do in that 857 process. I think Vulcan would be, I think he would have, I think we're going to paint him a true Vulcan figure here. He's going to have on this big old brown apron. Let's see if I can just get some brown here. It'll be leather. One of my aprons out in the shop is all leather. And I don't wear them too much because they get kind of hot. But I think you get the idea of what I'm doing here. And then I think I'm just going to get a little bit of this rose color over here and dust it right in there to represent Vulcan's bare bottom facing, is it Homewood or Mountain Brook? I'm not sure. Somebody can help me out on that. I'm not sure. But Vulcan's bottom faces one of those cities, one of those little communities that wasn't too excited about it. I'll tell you that when they finished the park. It's a funny story. But I remember seeing him lay down by the railroad tracks thinking, when are they going to put this thing back together? Because it's just really cool. It's a massive statue. And part of it is the iron industry that was in Birmingham, and part of it had to do with the railroad. So Vulcan is, he's the god of blacksmithing, if there's such a thing. And there probably isn't, but you know how people, man's always doing something to highlight and bring glory to man. Yeah, it's just how we are. We're wired funny. All right, there you go. There's a little painting right there. Look at that, huh? Ta-da! There it is. There's a Mulsiberian, an adjective meaning resembling Vulcan. Originally, the meaning the mythological figure, but ripe also to be picked up by fervent trekkers. See, I wasn't a trekker. I wasn't a Star Trek person. Is it Star Trek? Yes, Star Trek. I wasn't Star Trek, but I need a little bit of Terry Tardy turquoise in here because she's watching 2 episodes of Rue today. That's more than any person should endure. And then let's put a little green down here, just grass in this, and there we go. There's Vulcan hammering on the anvil. And one of these days soon, I'm going to get the shop out. We're going to get a cool, maybe a fallish day, maybe in the next month or 2 here. I'm going to get outside and I'm going to try and set up all my gear, and I'm going to bring you a Roodoodles live right from the anvil. It's going to be a little noisy because I'm going to bang the steel. I have to get a friend over maybe to do some camera moving for me so we can move it. And anyway, so there's my painting this morning. Mulsiberian. That's a good word. You're so Mulsiberian. You're so Vulcan-like. I love painting on this paper. And look, it's gonna dry out real nicely here. I could come in and do a little bit of detail here if I wanted to. I could put a stump. I could put some numbers on the anvil. Do you know all anvils have numbers on them? They're 100 weights, 10 weights, and stone weights. Tell you how heavy an anvil is. The British, the English all figured that out. And I have an English anvil. It's a Peter Wright English anvil. Just a beautiful anvil. I've had it for many, many years. All right. So there's my blacksmith Roo for all you Alabama people. Mulsiberian. See, it doesn't take much to just have some fun with art. Where will this painting wind up? Nowhere, just in this book. Just for my kids and grandkids to go through someday and go, that guy was a nut. And you go, yes, he was. But he was always someone who said, I think like an artist. There's some white space in here. There's some holidays. Didn't try to redo everything. Could I come in and add a little bit of grass in here like this if I wanted to. Yeah, I don't want to get too detailed. I want to still be able to read the book. I might have to read this book sometimes. Let me throw it down here on the floor, give it a chance to dry. And I told you I'd answer a question today. If anybody sends one in, will you auction the little whittle rooster? When is the auction? Annette Hensley, there's the question right there. Will you auction a little whittled rooster? You know what? Let me make another note right here in my little book. I'm going to grab my little note right here. All right. Little whittled roo. There's no space. Little whittled roo in auction. The answer is yes, I will. In fact, I got to tell you something that happened yesterday. Rod Dasher sent me a note. He's a dear friend of mine that comes over and has breakfast about once a month, and we talk about cast iron and fishing and pocket knives and connection and people and communities and good things. And his son just turned 8, and so he needed my counsel a few weeks ago, last visit, on a pocket knife to buy. Because, you know, when you're 8 years old, you ought to get your first pocket knife. And you ought to learn how to open and close it safely. And you ought to learn that you get a box of Band-Aids with it. And you ought to learn that you don't do anything fast. And it's a tool. It's not a toy. It's a tool. It's not a toy. It's a tool. It's not a toy. And you treat it like a tool, not a toy. And that's my first 4 or 5 rules of pocket knives. And you learn how to open and close it carefully. And you learn how to pop the blade open. You learn how to close it with the back of your hand. And you learn where the spring will get you. And you never use it in a way like this. It's not an ice pick. You use it, it's a tool, not a toy. You don't fly it like an airplane. Okay, so he's coming over. We're going to whittle some, and I'm going to teach him how to whittle away from yourself. But I'm going to teach him how to whittle toward yourself, just making sure all the digits are out of the way. And he won't learn to whittle in one time, but he'll learn to get control of his smaller knife. He's got a little open nail. It's red handle. It's kind of like this. Has a more of a blunted end for first time in knives and spreader knives. But, you know, knives have to be sharp to work, because a dull knife, they say, hurts you worse. Well, it won't cut you worse, but you force more. And when you force more is when something slips and you get hurt. And that's the whole point. If you get a sharp knife, you're sliding off. And so I will put a rooster I will put a whittle rooster in the auction. When is the auction? Coming up soon. Got 2 auctions coming soon. One is for Roodoodles, because I've got a stack of everything from small roos to hummingbirds to roosters to dragonflies. I've just got all kinds, shrimp. I got all kinds of things, crows. I've got all kinds of things that I painted that are small works of art that need a home. And also, I'm getting ready to do an auction for an organization called David's Table, which is it's a ministry operated by our friend Skeeter Powell, and I'm going to do an auction for them. And so Pat knows about this, and I'll be getting in touch with her before this week is out with some extensive details about how we're going to pull that auction off. We're going to do it right here. We're going to raise money for kids who with disabilities to go to camp. So everything from the auction goes to them for scholarships, everything. So they're going to invite friends in too, so you can have a lot of people to do it. So 2 auctions coming up that I will talk to you about. Let's see. Excuse me. What is a pawpaw patch? Well, a pawpaw patch is a pawpaw is actually an edible fruit. It's almost like possum grapes, but they're bigger. Pawpaws are something that you can make jelly out of. And so if you go down to the pawpaw patch, you're probably picking fruit that somebody is going to not can. You don't can pawpaws. You put them up. You put up pawpaws. You make jelly out of it. We put up 500 jars of pawpaws, and it tastes a little bit like a nasty persimmon that went astray to me. It's in that department. If I were in Haiti, I would say it would be what is that fruit that I'm not really crazy about? I can't remember it right now. Okay, so yeah, I know about pawpaw. I saw that question. Can you turn the camera icons off? Thank you. I didn't know they were still on. I went to focus that a moment ago. Yeah, I can do that. Look at that right there. Boom. I held that there for a focus shot on my desk. Thank you for looking. Let me see that. So I answered what is a pawpaw patch. Any other questions? Am I missing some? Will auction a whittled rooster? Controlling the amount of water is kind of hard for me. I was working on a tutorial yesterday and started with too much water. Phil, here's the thing, man. You don't, you can lead a horse to water, Phil, but you can't make him float on his back. So don't use enough water to float your painting. Just start in there damp. You can always come back and add a little water, and you can add a little pigment later. Treat this like it's salty salt, like it's salt from Salzburg. So for you folks in Germany, the salt from Salzburg is serious salt. I mean, we have iodized salt here that's been processed and purified and cleaned and filtered. You go to Salzburg, you go to Israel, and you go to the Dead Sea, and you pick up a piece of salt and you stick it to your tongue. You're going like, that is salty, okay? And so treat water and pigment like it's salty salt. Just put a little bit on there and keep adding to it. That's the best way you can do. And sometimes working on thinner paper will help you do that. I will tell you this, Michelle did something brilliant, and I don't know when she did it if she knew she was doing something brilliant, but I'll tell you what she did, and all of you know who I'm talking about when I say Michelle. Michelle is saying, Michelle paints on the receipts. Michelle paints great things. She does a Sunday painting that I really like. And Michelle hangs out at our house sometimes and cooks with my wife, and I know who she is, so I can talk bad about her. Michelle started painting on receipts because the paper of receipt just disperses. It just goes away, and you can literally read through it and see through it. It's thinner than those book pages I just painted on. She's learned to control the amount of water there. Now, when she takes that same approach back to watercolor paper, she's going to have to add more water, but she's bringing it in incrementally, and it's helping her control the water. Sometimes you just think, oh, I'll get all this in there and I'll deal with it later. And then by that time, you've crushed the cotton in your paper. You've diluted it to the point where, Phil used the right word, you have drowned it. And so, okay. All right. I find that my micro pens I use for lining or drag catch on the paper. Wow. A liner pen, Chris Whitaker. Yeah, the thing about micron pens is that they tend to have that little felt tip pen. It's hard fiber. It's either a fiber, it's either, it still has to have something that lets the ink run down. It's not a ball pen. And part of using that form of pen on rough watercolor paper, especially if it's rag cotton paper, you will eventually bend that pen unless you're very, very loose. So that's why I use a fountain pen. That's why I use a pen tail with a micro needlepoint tip. This ball will tend to roll over that paper a little more. Now, if you want the line that is archival, then you might have to just lighten up a little bit, or you might have to come back in and add that a little later when the paper is dry again, because water affects how those things bend also. Yeah, that's a tough question. It's tough, okay? All right, let's see. I can't find my pocket knife. Yeah, that's a bad one right there if you can't find a pocket knife. I'm only good for about 6 hours if I have misplaced one of my pocket knives and I can't find it. I will have to just find a new one. It drives me crazy. If I lay down my Cadet, which is this knife right here, this is my everyday carry. It's just a little Swiss Army flat Cadet. It's flat because I put it in my back pocket. It has a little screwdriver, and but I carry that knife in my pocket. I carry this knife in my pocket. This knife's always on the desk. This knife's always on the desk. And usually this knife's always on the desk. That's a little scary, isn't it? That wasn't a knife, that was a pen. So those are within my reach at any time. But I have a ammo box that's put away downstairs that I bring out to show my grandson. And it has, I think, 50 knives in it right now. And so I just go reach and get another knife sometimes. And I have them all over the place because to me, they're not toys, they're tools. Okay, they're not weapons, they're tools. Do your kids or grandkids have a favorite story that they request? Annette, that's a good question. No, but I will start lots of stories like this. There was once a boy. And even though I'm telling it to the majority of girl grandchildren, they still will catch in when I'll say, there was a boy once, and they're thinking, uh-oh, where's this going? I don't say, let me tell you a story about a boy who, or let me tell you a story about something that I did when I was 12. I just go, there was this boy, and he came home from school one day, and then I start into this weaving tale. And then sometimes I'll actually finish the story, and I'll say, I guess you know who that boy was. And they all just go, I go, yeah. And so one of the books that I have outlined and have put my copyright on and have started writing is There Was Once a Boy. And it's my stories. They're my stories. Most of my storytelling stories have all been embellished in some form, but they're all stories that probably came out of my life, or most likely came out of my life. Now, there's some folk tales that I used to tell when I was traveling around the country and when I was teaching storytelling in Orlando and DeLand and Eustis, Florida, sorry. And then even at Disney, I went in and told some stories. But my Dollywood, I told stories at Dollywood. Not like Michael Ashburn did. He would show up there in the church and did, I don't know how many shows that guy did, a ton. All right. How can I stop your audio from repeating the same words over and over and over and over and over and over? I have no idea. June Jones, you have a repeat coming somewhere through your computer. It's not happening on my end. I am so sorry. And Pat Brooks has got, I know she uses a lot of Derwent. Jason Nicholas, thank you, man. Good to have you back on. So she's got some great ideas on pens, and she also uses a lot of Canson paper, which most of that is not, some she uses is not rag cotton, and so it's a little smoother surface. I'll bet you, I'm just betting. How do you flatten warped watercolor paintings? Some people say just take a little misting bottle like this one right here, and just spray a little water on the back of it, like that. Just a tiny bit of water, okay? And then lay a book on it and just go cut your grass. Oh no, cut your grass. I gotta go buy a goat. I'm gonna get a goat to cut my grass so I can continue to paint. Okay. All right, let me show you green gold. All right, that's three questions. I'll answer a couple more if they pop up here. I'm looking this morning. I just want to take some time and make sure. Jason says, I've been working on my storytelling. So far, I have Once Upon a Time. That is a great way to start. But we'll talk. There's more to it than that, okay? When you use the harmonica at the end, is that a suck or a blow? That's always a blow, because if I did this, I would want to leave the show like this, so it's always a blow. It's always with the bass in on my left. I'm blowing out, and that's in the key of, should be G. Yes, G is just a good key to go in. Y'all ask the craziest stuff. Have you ever read a poem, A Jingle of Words? No, I don't. I don't read a lot of other poetry now. I did for years, but now that I'm writing a lot more poetry in my stuff, I try not to read too much. Just because I'm really trying to keep mine as loose and original and to my own cadence and rhythm and rhyme of words that I do. So I know that sounds very arrogant. It's not meant to be. But I'm working on a book right now that's called Odes from the Oceans, Rhymes from the Rivers, Poems from the Ponds. And so I don't want to be, I don't want to feel like I stole from other people. I want to write this as originally as I can for all these little things I'm working on. So that's a book that I'm working on right now. Okay, hope that answers that question. I love poetry, though. There was once an artist. There we go. Let's see. Do you play multiple instruments? Do you read music? Jim and Jensen, I do not read music. In fact, I took a job at a church in 2002, and their committee interviewed me and said, you know, we're only interviewing candidates who have a bachelor's in religious music and who have a not a master's, but at least a bachelor's in music. And I'm going like, okay, so how many people have you interviewed so far? And they said, ready for this? 70 people. And so I said to them, obviously, you don't know what you're looking for. You're looking for someone who checks all the boxes of your application, but may not have a dadgum clue about music. So it's been fun talking to you. I'll see you later. But before I left, I said, if you'll give me a copy of your job description, I'll look it over. So when they printed it off, it was 3 pages. And I said, oh, I see another problem with your hiring process. Nobody in his right mind, even Jesus, wouldn't want this musical job if you gave him a job directing the angel choir. And I just said it because I had nothing to lose. And I said, but let me have this. I'm going to take it home. And so I got home, back to my home in Florida, and I worked on this thing, and I reduced it from 3 pages to about 3/4 of a page, and says, if a person could do this, he could do that job, and he could do it well. And I sent it back to him and said, try finding someone who can do these things. It'll make a difference in your music. It'll make a difference in your church. It'll make a difference in your singing ability and your, anyway. About 2 weeks later, they said, would you come and interview with us on your job description? True story. And I took the job. That sounds really arrogant, but I didn't check most of the boxes. I said, this is not about reading music. This is about reading hearts and getting people to sing and realize what they're singing and why they're singing. This is not about notes. We're not teaching a music school here. Do I think reading music helps? Yes, and I want my grandchildren, especially my fiddle playing, he knows thirds and fifths and hemi-demi semi-quavers. And look, I can sight read through things, but I don't sit down and cold read things. I learn by ear, and I play several instruments okay, not well. Guitar was my main instrument, and lots of times I'd be playing that, and I'd hang it up on the wall, and I would just storytell my way through things. So there's the answer to that story, okay? All right. Do I use colored pencils? How do you sharpen them? With a pocket knife. If you sharpen them with a pencil sharpener, you lose too much of them. But if I lay them on their side and I sharpen them with a pocket knife like this, I just take off enough of the wood to turn it into the point that I need. And there it is right there. And you got to be very careful because those are crayons inside the pencils. They're colored pencils with crayons in them. And they just break very carefully. Or get yourself not an electric pencil sharpener or one of those old Bostons that you crank very slowly and let it ease the edge off. There you go. Okay. All right. Okay, let me paint something for you. Hey, thanks for letting me answer some questions this morning. I wanted to do that. Here's green gold. I wanted to show you a little green gold. Watch this right here. I'm just going to grab a piece of paper. Let me just grab a piece of this 6x8 fluid paper right here. And let's see, green gold. I told you yesterday I had some green gold. Here's what it looks like right here. And it's what it's called. It's American Journey paint. It's called green gold. It's one of my daughter's favorite colors. And I think she uses it in the leaves of flowers. But I thought green gold might make a pretty cool little mountain scene, just like that right there. There's a little mountain scene. And so if you're doing scenery of mountains, you might want to come in and just have some blue in there like this. Just pull some blue in, and that might be too much. Remember what I told you? You can always come back in and add water. You can come in here like this. Come in, leave a little white up there for snow. Maybe these are some Rocky Mountains. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to grab a little bit of that green gold. And here's what it looks like right here when you put it on. You know what it looks like? It looks like green and gold. Here's what it looks like just in paint. There it is. Right. Let me just get a clean brush. Put some right here. There it is right there. Is that cool? That's a cool color. You go, wow, what color is that? It's green gold. I like it. And what happens if you put a little purple in there like this? Oh man, then I'm getting some great. What happens if I roll a little black underneath it right here for shadows and coming down the hillside, coming in here like this? What if I got that? What if I go in and get a little bit of this real true green and put it down here like this? Maybe some trees coming out like that. And so before I know anything, look what happened. I just took a little bit of green gold, a little blue, because, you know, mountains look blue in the late afternoon. Pick up some of this green gold and drop it right up in there like this, like up on this valley. There's some green. And so could I mix those other colors? Could I go in and got a little yellow and a little green and a little blue and added in there and a little brown and touched it to it? Yes, I could have made that. But sometimes the guys who run art stores, they want to sell another product, but they also have a great idea to say, let's go ahead and give them this mixed up a little bit. It'll work. And so you can go in with a little bit of this and touch it here. I'm just going in. Can you see? No, you can't see my palette. Let me show you what I'm grabbing there. I'm just grabbing a little bit of that Harbor Gray, going in and touching some of that Harbor Gray right in here like this. Might come back in with my pen and come in here. Just don't use a fountain pen now to just put some streaks in there. Pick up some of these trees. Maybe I'll put up a couple trees right in there. Maybe there's an old road coming down this way. Maybe there's a rock outcropping that drops off here. And then I might just come in and grab this other brush and come in and grab a little bit of blue sky right up there and just let it wash in. And you see, in a matter of how long we've been at this, 1 minute and 12 seconds right now, and that's with me talking. I have created maybe a little bit of yellow in the sky right here. Oh, look at that right there. I've created this little mountain scene, and there it is. And so what I did was, you see where I used some extra water, and I just let it mushroom out or blend. And so it gives me, so it looks like those are shrubs. I could come in here and touch that just a little. A little bit more of this gray right here, just to drop it in. Maybe a little more touch of blue right in there. Why? Just because sometimes down around here, I want a little green with this too. I'm going to drop a little spring green right there, just to really highlight the sun coming through. All right, so there you go. There's a little landscape. That's green gray. Somebody asked me what, or green gold. Somebody asked me what green gold is. I buy the 15 milliliter packets or tubes because they stay fresher longer, and I don't use much of this. Good grief. I used one dip of my brush, 2 dips of my brush, this one and then that one, just to show you the color. So there it is right there. Let's see, anything else? Miss Carla said she had to go pick peas. Yeah, sometimes the peas are saying, get us off here. Quick, loose mountainscape. Oh, the power of watercolor. Isn't that funny, Jason? Man, you'd be great at that. Jason can do some screen splatter time. Thank you for bringing that back, Gemma. Let's just splatter it with this right here. Beautiful. All right, so this is the screen that I made. You know, there's lots of ways that I splatter, right? You got to turn this into a little teaching class today, which is kind of fun for me. Thank you so much. Haven't done a class in a while, so if I want to splatter the sky a little bit, I'm gonna take a smaller brush so you can see what I'm doing here. Let's grab a number 4, kind of a small brush, American Journey, nylon, bristle. See it right there? There it is right there. Okay, I'm just gonna grab that. Let's just do something really funky here. This ought to be a piece of music for splattering. Another brush. Hold this brush about that far off the paper and just hit it. That's one way to splatter, okay? That's one way to splatter. Show you another way, okay? I've taken this little piece of wire, and I just put some hot glue around here, dropped a little piece of Teflon screen on it. This is window screen, just to keep the flies off your back porch pie. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to grab a little bit of this yellow right here in this box and just put some right there. I'll grab a little bit of red, put it right over here like this. Grab some of this blue, just drop it in there like that. Maybe a touch of green right here, just a little bit of green. Maybe a little bit of turquoise, just right off to the side. So I have these little colors mixed in. See them right there? There they are. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold this above here and blow through the screen. You gotta be kidding me. Just like, voila. Look at all that red that just splattered up in there. Can you see that? Okay, so that's a little too much, but you get the idea. I did it like that on purpose. Let me do this. Let me just skin this piece of paper here. Toss it over there in the trash receptacle. Let me show you what this looks like just in a box here. Here, let me draw the box right here. All right, so there's a little box. Let's go do this one more time. All right. Lost my brush. Go get my brush. Let's drop a little blue on there. Drop a little red. Washing my brush out between colors. Okay. Let's go get a little gamboge right in here like so. Just a little bit there. And let's pick up something really different. How about some, I got a little bit of yellow in my brush still. Sorry about that color. Let's go get a little bit of periwinkle. And just put a touch of periwinkle right there in the middle. Right there's periwinkle. Okay, now I'm just going to hold this over this box. You see a clean paper, and I'm just going to hold it about 2-3 inches above, maybe 4 inches. Maybe I'm up about 4 inches now, and just blow in it. Voila. Look at the beautiful splatter that I just got right there. Can you see that? That is too cool. Payne's Gray. I didn't splatter with Payne's Gray, Donna Buckley. Facebook won't let me answer some of you in comments. Roodoodles Show, and I have to find you again. Yeah, I don't know why. Shouldn't. Don't know why that's happening. Auction it off. June Jones says, yeah, Toad music. Okay, how do you know when you're done with a painting? When do you know you have done too much? B, that's an awesome question. You know you've done too much when you look at it and go, shoot, I did too much. I just should have stopped earlier. So let me tell you the way to do that. When you first feel the tendency to say to yourself, your subconscious, your brain, your art eye is working pretty well. And I will tell you this, like I did with water, you can always add more. So start with less. Please start with less, okay? Just start adding less. And then go, oh, if I keep adding this in, it's almost like people want to think, oh, I saw this photograph, and I bet if I try to do these petals on this flower, and I bet if I do this and this and this, you know, sometimes you ought to just go in there and say, I'm done with the flower, and let it dry, and then come back to it in an hour. Go make a pot of coffee. Go make a pot of tea. Go take a walk out to the mailbox. Go talk to the neighbor on the back far side of the fence, and then come back and say, oh, you know what this needs right now? It doesn't need any more color, but it needs some pen coming in, or it needs a couple leaves, or it needs a little bit of green gold leaf. Oh, my heavens. Look at that. And then it needs some spring green on top of that. And then I keep messing with it, and I keep coming back in, and I keep fiddling. There's a point where you go, now I've done too much. You know in your heart. So listen to yourself. And just, there's a little chapter in the book that says, put the brush down and back away from the easel. There's some point in time where you just say, I should let well enough alone, and that's well enough. I can't teach that. You just have to look at it. You have to go back and think, you do know this. You don't have to be in Miss Skelton's third grade class, and because there's white paper, I have to fill it in. Please don't. Just back off a little bit. It's really hard to tell. So that's the only way I can really say to do it, is that you just have to keep practicing. And that's why I buy a lot of paper that's medium grade paper sometimes just to practice with. And I'll go, too much. I should have stopped. I just should have stopped. So I wind up throwing a piece of paper away and going like, well, that lesson just cost me $1. So dadgummit, I'll do better next time. Okay? All right. If the paper's thinner, you even have to stop earlier. Okay? Auction, a little whittle-roo. Yeah, we're going to do that. All right, here we go. Let's see here. That's the other way you can do it. Is Kelly Berger has answered it here. A lot of people do rough out their paintings sometimes in contrast in black and white. Joe Miller used to do that all the time. He'd come in with a pencil, and he would do his pencil sketches. And I've heard him say this in person. He'd come in with his pencil sketches, and he would do a little contrast in there, and he'd work on it a little bit, and he'd work on it and say, okay, wow, I know if I do this, that'll be great. And so he would keep on until he got it the way he wanted to, and he would mix his colors, mix his contrast, and shade things out. Sometimes with watercolor, just stop. You can always come back and add to it once it dries. You can add something else on. You can always create something else. We just tend to keep, it's one thing about noodle doodle fiddle piddle. It's another thing about knowing when to quit. And so that's all I'm telling you is that I can't teach you when to quit. You just have to say, I don't like that one. I like this one. Well, do more of these. And you go, well, that's ridiculous. And you go, yeah, maybe, maybe not. Maybe that's exactly what it takes to get this done. Maybe it's just like that. Finish this little painting in a couple minutes here, and I think you'll get. I just thought of it as a reference here to saying. I am going to go take some antihistamine. All right. Here we go. Let's put a little yellow in here. Let's put a little, or that was orange, wasn't it? Yeah, let's put a little yellow in there. And just a touch more. Look how little paint I'm using. And you realize I hadn't put any water in here yet, but watch this. I'm going to pull some purple in there. And just more purple than that. Then I'm just going to put some let that blue run up in there. That's just perfectly fine with me. Fine art is what you think it is. Look at this little dragonfly coming together, and just draw some legs down here. Let's do this little ladybug right here. Let's do this little ladybug right here. See, these are just quick sketches. They don't have to be masterpiece works of art. You just have fun telling a story. And so how fast and fun is the quick speed of just doing something that you go, wow, that really does work. And I wiped my finger through that, which I really didn't want to do, but I did it anyway. So I'll have to see if I can camouflage that. See, that's why I'm painting on different paint colors here this morning. But I'm going to go in here and get my pen, see if I can make these dark spots on this ladybug black right here, and here, and here. Let's see, drop that out just a little bit. There's the ladybug's head right there, this one. And so you see what I got going here? I got this little painting going right here. All right, I hope I was able to answer some questions for you today. Just will I have an auction? Yes. What I know about painting with water, use less. What I know when to stop, use less. So this would be a fun little painting. I should go back and put this on a real piece of paper and make it work. Here's what I say. This ladybug and this ladybug were just giving this dragonfly a hard time, and they didn't know when to stop. They just didn't know when to stop. I told you to stop. So at some point in time, nobody is going to be calling you on the phone, B, and saying, B, stop. Now, it could be if you're in a painting class and the teacher would say, no, leave it like it is. It's perfect. But you tend to keep messing with it. Put your brush down and go do something else for a little bit, start another painting, and then come back to it and look at it with fresh eyes. So these two little ladybugs were just giving this dragonfly a hard time. And one of them just gets carried off because I told you to stop. So there's your painting right there in story form. Bring closer to the camera. I don't know if I can. I'll try. Here we go. Last little beast before I go. Here, bring it closer to the camera. What if I bring the camera closer to it? And see if I can get it to focus. Boom and boom. There. I told you to stop. Okay. So there you have it right there. All right. Hey, it's been fun to be with you on this Tuesday. I got to go get my goat and buy a goat, stick him out in the yard, get my grass cut so I can continue to paint. And I appreciate you being a part of Roodoodles. Hopefully I answered a few questions for you today, and I haven't answered the big questions. When's the next auction? But I'm going to have one. And hey, take a sip of your cuppa today, whether it's tea or coffee or if it's in a roux mug. Look at that, huh? And think of somebody right now that you need to text, send a note to, send a painting to, call on the phone, listen to their voice. You got the person. Send them a little note right now. You'll fire that out in just a second. And just send them a bing, a little blessing. And I'm telling you, it'll be great for them, okay? Because you know what? In the words of Bob Ross, it never really was just about painting. It's about people, and it's about connecting. And it's about making those people better than you. And that's not hard to do on this show because you guys can paint circles around me. I'm just here to connect pieces and have fun and tell stories. So thanks for all that you do. Got to get the popcorn ready for the auction. Yeah, I'll be sending you notes on that. Thank you so much. And if I see another question or two on here, I'll try to pop them in. I think I'll turn this into a painting. I think I'll probably take a dragonfly, a bigger one, maybe something like this one right here. Let's see if I can get this thing to widen out a little bit here. Maybe a painting kind of like this right here, and put some of those little ladybugs on there. That's a good little painting. I like that one. That's a little original painting with me. I've never done that. I told you to stop teasing the dragonfly. Don't be teasing the dragonfly. Okay? All right. I got a few dragonflies laying up here. Every now and then when I'm on the phone, I'll just paint a dragonfly. Look at that rascal right there. He's cool. I might come in and put a little bit of white in the eye. So, oh, look at that. That's just so cool. Every now and then you just got to go grab a little piece of some white ink and throw it in there. Put a little break right here, just a little twist line. Ooh, that's good. That's really good. I like him. All right, he might wind up in the auction. Maybe I'll do the ladybugs on him. He looks good. All right, have a blessed day. I will see you guys Saturday morning, Lord willing. And it might pop in a time or two before then. And thanks for purchasing Noodle Doodle Fiddle Piddle. And the book looks just like this right here. Boom. You can get it on Amazon.com. You can also get the coloring book there. It's called Roodoodles, and it's been fun. And kids are drawing in it already, and parents too. And it's roosters and small farm equipment. Both of those are on Amazon.com. You can also get those from me. Yes, sometimes it takes a little longer because I got to get them shipped here. Then I turn them around, get them to you. But I can do it. And I also have Hey Roo, What's a Wheelbarrow? All three of those available on Amazon.com. Pat Brooks did the illustration in Noodle Doodle Fiddle Piddle and did a marvelous job. And those stories are all based on true facts. Did I embellish some? Yeah, you write sentences and put them together, but those are stories of why those sayings are those sayings. So there's one in there, B, that says, enough is enough. So read it over and over today if you have that book, and you'll go, oh, I just need to stop myself and lay my brush down. Chicka-boom. Lay it down. See you next time on, is that out of focus? Whoa, there it is. See you next time on Roodoodles Live. I'm out of here. Skeeter. See?